of graduation and exam results filling our social media feed as well as traditional media feeds, it is apt that as part of the continued budget debate, we focus on education and its role in national development and the development it and the direction it is heading with AI. With me once again is Dr. Vanus James, well-known economist. Hi, Dr. James. How is everything? Dr. James, of all the categories in the budget, in any budget, THA, government or otherwise, you believe that money spent under education can be transformative to society. So based on and we'll go through the details, based on the midterm review just completed as well as the THA budget wish list, do we think the budgets is sufficient for the challenges presently created by the new knowledge production process, which is modern AI?
Well, not really.
Not really.
Not really.
And we should take some time to go through the midterm review under education as well as the THA.
Yeah, but not really is an answer because of what we must understand as the two top priorities if we're going to transform the national economy.
Okay.
One of them, maybe the most important, is the transformation of government itself. Because government is the main barrier to our development as a people. Meaning government as we are practicing it now. But the second, and not too far behind, is the speed with which the society learns. And you could flip them around, you know, you could say the learning speed is the most important and then government the second. And without those two fundamental forces operating properly, we can't escape colonialism and we can't escape recolonization, and we cannot transform, diversify, as we used to say long ago, our national economy, either in Tobago or in Trinidad, and may I add, for that matter, in the whole Caribbean.
Okay. So let's take a look at what was listed in the midterm review as priority achievements with respect to education and training. The first was the acquisition of laptops for Form 1 students for the previous academic year, 2026 to 2027.
That's in the midterm review.
Midterm review, correct. Establishment of a Tier 4 data center to meet some of the costs associated with construction and outfitting of the Tier 4 data center, with the aim mainly towards modernizing the government. Those were the two priorities in the midterm review as it relates to the government.
For education and training.
For education and training, correct. In the other case, the THA budget request for 2026 to 2027, 190.5 million, and their priority is curriculum modernization and diversification, classroom technology, teacher training and professional development, strengthening early childhood education, promoting inclusive education, dual track education with a focus on vocational skills, school construction, and general upgrades and maintenance of schools. Nowhere in any of these, maybe except Dr. James for under curriculum modernization and diversification, does it mention the new knowledge production process, which everybody know as modern AI, and how that can be used in education and training as it relates to Tobago or Trinidad and Tobago?
I don't think that's what they're talking about.
Under modernization and diversification.
No,
okay.
I don't. If that's what they're talking about, they would set up the whole request differently because of the things you're going to need to grapple with AI.
Okay.
And the way the country has to be organized for you to grapple with AI.
Yes.
as well as the way Tobago itself has to be organized for you to grapple with the implications of learning production
That
through
is
AI.
coming, correct.
So I don't think that's what they're talking about.
But
I might also point out that I don't think that when they talk about the dual track education, that they are anywhere close to that either.
yeah, because it's mainly it's more theory-based vocational skills. I think that is their dual track.
And what do they mean? And,
Okay.
and so first of all, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what a real dual track education system has to look like. And secondly, what they mean by technical vocational education is plumbing and masonry and the industrial arts.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about the world of tomorrow, there'll be a lot of space for that. But the majority of the job recreation that's going to happen will require AI. And if that's not part of what you mean by upskilling, then you're missing the boat. And that doesn't just affect plumbing and masonry and electricals and stuff like that. It affects medicine, law, the practice of statistics and so on, all of which are vocational skills.
Correct.
So you have to be careful what this is going to do in the world of tomorrow. All of the things they are mentioned in the midterm review and what they're mentioning in the THA's budget request are what I would think of as things we should be doing anyway, ground floor stuff,
Yeah.
baseline things. But if you're going to grapple with the world that is just around the corner, and here already in many, many ways, this is far from being adequate.
But what would you have liked to see in, let's say, for instance, let's pick out the THA budget as it relates to the new reality facing us with respect to AI? A line item that would include what specifically to
Well,
start?
what would be needed in writing the budget? We can't just cherry pick. What the government would have to understand, both here in Tobago and in Trinidad, is the way modern knowledge production fits into the economy.
Okay.
In this case, the whole society, but surely in the economy. We produce two types of assets that we use to generate income in the country. We produce real assets, buildings and stuff like that, equipment you install, and you produce knowledge assets, knowledge and skills, and store them and use them repeatedly in production. And you have to ask, in particular, how does modern knowledge technology fit into that production process?
Yes.
Production of knowledge boosts production of the
Real
real assets, and as you do it, you learn. As you do everything in society, you walk the streets, you learn. But also, in the production of the knowledge, which goes into production of the real assets, which feed back to boost your knowledge production. In the production of the knowledge, you use modern technology. You use, all of it is really driven by science when you think about it. The reason we have a school system is so we don't live on common sense, put it that way.
Understood.
Right? And what the school system does is to accelerate the learning process that you would get from and make it more accurate than you would get from common sense.
Yeah. Even though common sense is part of the learning, but yes, I understand.
The point of schooling is to move from common sense.
Correct.
Is to rely on science.
Okay.
Is to formalize the processes that you take for granted in common sense and put solid data behind them and high-powered logic behind them. And it's that modern artificial intelligence scales up dramatically. And remember, modern artificial intelligence could produce knowledge on its own without reference to you as an individual.
Correct.
And without reference to the the contribution of persons to science.
Correct.
So you have to cater for all of that. And there are a couple of elements in there that you can't ignore. One of them is that your knowledge and my knowledge would decay over time. You know, we would get obsolete. Yeah. You know, you become an old man, you forget everything.
Not everything,
and
some things.
And what artificial intelligence would do for you is to bring that back up to speed. So that's
the knowledge is not lost.
So that all the knowledge is not lost. So that's one element that it does for the society. Prevents the obsolescence of knowledge.
Yeah.
But the other thing that it does is that artificial intelligence speeds up
the learning process.
The individual knowledge production process. The knowledge production process of myself as a mathematician and statistician. With the application of AI, I dramatically have scaled up how fast I could produce new models. And medical doctors, new vaccines, new this, new that. Professors teaching in the university, same thing. It just dramatically scales up knowledge production. So it could produce knowledge on its own, and it scales up what you, the individual, could do, and the accuracy with which you could do it. When I am grappling with my modeling, I have to write down differential equations.
Yes.
And some of them I write them, I can't solve them.
Correct.
Sometimes you have to appeal to AI to help you. See if you could find a solution, some of it numerical, that sort of stuff. So you're dealing with a tool that is going to put the scientific knowledge that we are going into the school system to produce on steroids.
Okay.
Exponential growth in it. And the society has to think about that and not find itself, not leave itself in a position where it's just a user.
Right. And that's the next thing I wanted to talk to you about. Presently, when you look at our society specifically, we are simply participants in the whole technology. We ask ChatGPT, we Gemini, Claude. It's all about, you're talking about WhatsApp. All we do is participate. We don't contribute to that knowledge base at any point in time. So most of the knowledge I think we
and
get...
And you don't forget, you are paying,
correct.
You are importing to participate.
Right. And I mean, you see some challenges there where we are only participants rather than actual people putting knowledge into the system.
Well, don't forget what the school system is designed to do. The society needs to think carefully about what all things we're doing, how they fit together. But the role of the school system is not for you to just learn what the Americans are doing and learn what the British people are doing. It's also for you to produce new knowledge.
Yeah. From where you're at, where you're sitting.
With your data,
with your data.
patients in the hospital,
yes,
your
correct.
students in the school.
Correct.
When you go to teach, you're not supposed to simply copy what some books say. You, the professor, have to come up with new ways of thinking and share that with your students.
Okay.
So knowledge production is a huge part of the way we run the society.
Yeah.
But in the case of Trinidad and Tobago and Caribbean countries generally, it
doing
has a
knowledge
different
production.
rule.
Okay.
And that is that for us to build a viable economy, we have to produce a set of outputs that are all intensive users of knowledge, and we do best when we could produce new knowledge. You see it in the creative industries. Every year the carnival artists bring out new stuff.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing. And you need to infuse that into teaching and education generally, and into medicine, and even into law, jurisprudence, and things like that.
Rather than just regurgitating what was taught.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or old stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You win in the world by producing new financial services, new types of portfolios for people to come and buy.
Yeah.
That's what the Bahamas is doing. And if you want to export tertiary education, you're competing with the Harvards and the Oxfords of this world, and so Your universities have to be producing new discoveries.
Yeah.
So
they must have an element of research.
those are the things, those
Okay.
are the elements of our economy where we will ultimately have to make a living and employ the vast majority of our people. And that means we're going to have to dramatically scale up on knowledge production in order to compete in the world.
And that's where we're falling short presently.
To now, up to now, but what AI would do if you don't adjust,
Give it to us.
my job as an economist is to look at how the world is changing and warn you as a society, you've got to change. And we bring our results to Tobago first. And what these results are telling you is you have to change now because of the nature of the knowledge production technologies that are now being put in place by artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Let me just tell you, Aisha, you're a scientist, so you will understand.
Keep saying that.
Artificial intelligence is just modern science on steroids.
Pretty much. All the data sets, everything in one place.
Two parts. One part, what we really call artificial intelligence, is deductive logic, mathematical logic.
Yep.
Right? Deductive logic on any kind of data, on structured data, any kind of data.
Yeah.
And the second part is what you do in ordinary life. Every time something happens, you learn from it. And you do induction, as we call it, in science.
Correct.
And you do experiments, and you use the examples from that, and you draw inferences. And what artificial intelligence in the modern form, what we call agentic AI, it really does, is combine the two. So you're doing science in the ordinary sense of science, but you're doing it with dramatically faster results production.
Okay.
And we can't ignore that as a society, because if you do, you'll be left behind and ultimately colonized. And the most dangerous colonizing instrument I have seen in my lifetime
is
artificial intelligence.
I don't think that link has been made.
I don't think the society is paying attention to it.
Especially if we continue to only be participants and not creating our own knowledge base where we
Let me give you the analogy that everybody should appreciate. You grew up, you can't produce a car, but you could buy a car and drive it. You don't need even to be an engineer to do that.
Nope.
That will colonize you a little bit because you become dependent on the foreigners to sell your cars.
Correct.
But that's just a little tiny, innocuous kind of colonization. You could just deal with that by selling exports to pay for that.
Correct.
What artificial intelligence does is change that equation. And it says the knowledge, the basic knowledge you are using in your society, I am going to be producing that. So when you have a problem, you come to me.
There we go.
So you see it in practical life when people say, Google it. That's what you're doing. And the more knowledge they acquire, the more you depend on them.
Yeah.
And that is the process of colonizing your mind. An airplane can't colonize your mind. A car can't colonize your mind. But AI will colonize it. Not can, will, and is doing it. So the only counter to that is for you to produce knowledge from your own space, in your own way, in your own circumstances, and add it to the pool
of knowledge.
So you contribute, they contribute.
And you become a part of what is a bigger thing. Okay.
And that's how you use it most effectively. And if you don't get into that process, it won't take you 20 years for you to become a colonial backwater in the global space.
Okay. But Dr. James, I want to take it a little further, because in our initial discussion, you talk about that colonizing, but we also talked about how the role of parents and teachers will change when AI truly gets cemented in society, and why it is necessary for us to be a participant in the whole thing. And one of the scary parts we talk about is whether or not the challenges that parents and teachers would meet being what would be the main provider of knowledge to children and other people.
The whole knowledge curation process that schooling represents is going to be dramatically disrupted, is being dramatically disrupted by AI. I pointed this out in an article in The Guardian or somewhere about 4 years ago. Because what's happening, the way the economy is developing generally, you're seeing it in your face already, and that is the home is being marginalized by the economy as a whole. Long ago, children generally would eat at home. That's not happening so much anymore, right? You're marginalizing the home in those basic senses. So what AI does is it takes the child and hands the child a cell phone, and when you want to know anything, you go to Google and Gemini or ChatGPT
or Claude
or in OpenAI or Claude in Anthropic and so on and so on.
So you no longer go to the
Deep
people
seek,
that used to give you the knowledge, which is the parent
You
or
don't
the
go
teacher.
to the home and you don't go to the school. What we used to do long ago when I was in high school is you would test the teacher with the external information. But
no, you ain't testing nobody. You're just taking it and accepting it.
And if you don't teach methodology in a certain way, children could be misled.
Right,
by
and
this.
that's the next thing I wanted to talk to you about. Even as people feel that AI is positive in terms of providing what you need, in order, as you said it very clearly, AI sometimes is incorrect and AI sometimes could lie. And there is a need to teach our young people and people in general, as you say, methodologies to be able to take that information, look at it critically, and determine whether or not it is right, wrong, or whatever the case might be.
You can't do that without basic training. The whole curriculum had to be set up for that.
To do that. Because right now, as you say, we just take it in. You Google something and you hear people spout a lot of things. Google tell me that. Somebody like me listens to it and goes, but that don't make sense. But somebody who doesn't have the methodology in their head to critically look at that information and determine something is wrong with that could be led astray.
You see, what is being challenged, what AI is effectively doing when everybody lives on social media and so on, is that it's changing the social fabric in which people live. And it's destroying the normal mechanisms of curation of knowledge by the home and by the school. No teacher, even I as a professor, will be unable to compete with the power of curation when the whole global library can be accessed in 2 seconds. When I ask, in my normal work, when I put a designer differential equation and ask Gemini to check it for equality and tell me if I can get a closed form solution, an algebraic solution, and if not, if I could get a numerical solution, it takes 2 to 5 seconds at most for Gemini to give me an answer, and for Claude and all of them. Long ago, I used to have to read 10 references. That would take me a week, digging up everything, all my references, checking back this, checking back that. Now I can get that done with the references cited using artificial intelligence. And not only that, it would take the equation and say, tell me, this is a clever equation. Which reference you got it from? I'd say, I made it up myself. They'd say, wonderful. All right, can I help you to develop it? That's the kind of thing you're dealing with.
So it learns on your
Your teachers are not going to be able to compete with that.
But then what do governments have to put in place in order not to counteract it, but to be able to be a part of that and the citizens be able to be a part of that as they move forward?
You got to put the infrastructure in place to use it on your behalf, to not let it be a colonizing instrument. Colonization in the sense of displacing you. Now, remember, you're always sharing around the world, so you're involved in the sharing process, and that's good. But it's when it's displacing you so that you're no longer a knowledge producer, you're just a knowledge user. That's when you're in trouble. That's when you get the Garveyite problem of the need to emancipate yourself from mental slavery. So to deal with that, you have to put the infrastructure in place, a complete set of infrastructure. You have to put the software in place. You have to put the most important, the knowledge and skills to use those code and all the other things you have to do. And you have to put the data systems in place. And when all of that is considered, the scale on which you have to invest to get this done, Tobago can't do it alone. Trinidad and Tobago can't do it alone. The Caribbean is going to turn out to be relatively small in dealing with that, so we are dealing with collaboration with Latin America, and so on and on and on. And if you don't do it now, it doesn't take more than 5 years for it to swamp you. And in 20 years' time, you are a complete colony in the global space. So you have to be careful as a society.
As we're talking here, a question came to mind. You talk about all data, the global data sets being available to everybody. Do you see it heading in a direction where universities may become obsolete? Where if you're able to, as a medical doctor, to Google, well, not Google, usually Google seems too simple, Claude or ChatGPT, to be able to determine a solution to a problem. Why would I need to go to university?
Well, the reason we've always needed local knowledge is you see it in the actual use of these technologies in social media. The reason you need to produce knowledge, there's a whole lot of things you are doing, only you want to do as a society, and so on. Only you are good at it. And you need to produce that to deal with the world, to trade with the world.
So then you see universities and education moving to that direction, where it would be specifically related to what...
No. They're going to be producing the kinds of things you are good at for the world.
Yes, that's what I mean, specifically for the area in which they are.
And you'll use global and local knowledge to do that. You won't just do it with local knowledge alone. We've never used local knowledge alone.
No.
And we won't have to use it now.
It has to be added to the global data set in order to find a
But you have to remember how you make your living. You're going to have to produce things to sell to the world. And if the world is able to produce those things that you are producing better and faster than you, you're going to be in big trouble. So you're going to have to use the AI, not just to, remember, AI would be able to copy your artists and you wouldn't be able to compete. You're going to be in real trouble. So to
AI
avoid that.
Music now on their own, you know.
And copying. And copying artists and the artists complaining about it and so on. So to avoid that kind of scenario, you have to bring your own creative thrust to the process. Your own new discoveries. That goes to the kind of data you have, the kinds of problems you have. You have to take your society seriously and avoid just being a buyer of the world's knowledge and hewers of wood and drawers of water, as they used to say long ago.
One of the big collaborators you hear over and over with Trinidad and Tobago.
I think he's sending you a message for a break or something.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We'll take a break and come back. Stay tuned. welcome back. Once again, we are discussing education in the budget and its lack of including the direction in which technology is heading related to AI. I'm back with Dr. Vanus James, and before the break, we were going to talk about what the IDB is doing as it relates to modern AI and encouraging its partners towards that direction. Now, Dr. James, you had mentioned that the IDB held a webinar recently that allowed for teams to create and use artificial intelligence tools. And you thought it was a good direction in which such a partner could push some of its members. Could we talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, to do that properly, we have to keep in mind, to understand the point that I'll be making about what the IDB is encouraging, we have to understand what AI is properly.
Okay.
We have to not forget that it is science.
Yes.
And its primary value is as an aid to knowledge production.
Correct.
We can't forget that. Otherwise, what you'll do as a society is miss the main boat.
Yeah.
Right? What
Right
you
now,
are,
AI for all of us is just tick.
yeah.
We find information.
But that's not going to work if you're dealing with an economy and
Correct.
you have to build it.
So we have to keep in mind that it's about knowledge production from at least the creator's side.
And if you forget that, then you end up as a Tobago economy, right? Which is just completely dependent on the Trinidad economy, which is very, very dependent on the oil and gas industry and on the world, and everything else you get from the rest of the world. You're not going far with that. You're heading in the wrong direction with that. That's why we demand diversification as a society. So you have to keep that in mind and understand how AI can help you to build the right kind of economy. Now,
yes.
if you, what the IDB is addressing is the fact that in virtually all occupations of today, and more so of tomorrow, all these young children coming out of school, that's the world they will face.
And you're seeing it now with all the graduation.
You will,
and people are asking the same questions. What are these children coming out to do?
You're going to need all of them to have real capabilities in just a few years down the road in methodology.
Okay.
So you have to adjust your curriculum and your whole teaching process to deal with that role with the modern technologies of knowledge production.
Correct.
Right? We can't forget that. Now, what the IEDB recognizes is that all the professions will tend to have to use AI one way or the other, right?
Some form.
Even in the skill components.
Yes.
And not all skills, and not excluding the music and not excluding even
Creative
the
industry.
industrial arts and stuff like that. So pretty much all professions are going to be tied back in some way to this knowledge.
But I want to reiterate, not in the way we
technology.
presently use it,
Right.
in terms of just pulling information.
Well, which is what the IDB webinar was all about. It created a new open source platform called Terra.
Yeah.
And its design is to enable work teams to create and use artificial intelligence agents. In modern agentic AI, you can produce, so you want somebody to do human resource management. You don't need to hire a human worker for that. You could literally create an AI agent and let the AI agent do that for you.
Okay.
And with the modern tools available, the AI agent will be maybe vastly superior to an actual worker brought in. So you kind of have to know what you want the worker to do with that kind of capability available to the worker if you were to hire an actual worker.
Yeah.
Now, so what this webinar did was to expose attendants to all the methods of creating the AI agents, the worker, the digital worker, and use AI even if they don't have advanced programming skills. The tool would connect you to documents, to repositories, to the global web, and all of those kinds of things. And you'll be able to use various kinds of software, all of that the IDB is encouraging the country and countries in the region to get up to speed on. Right? They're responding to the fact that there is this big threat AI poses of job displacement, human job displacement. This is an actual experience. I have a business running, and I can tell you, thinking about employment now is not the same as thinking about it 2 years ago. You have to be thinking about the gains you make from putting an AI agent where you would have hired a person, that sort of stuff. Right. So the thing is, the IDB is right that you're going to have to grapple with that. And I think the reason it's right go beyond the nature of AI as a user, a tool in the production process on the job to a different level. It's right to encourage the country to head down the road it's going, but you need much more, in other words. So build on what they're doing and do more. And the more is really you have to turn AI into a knowledge production tool, right, at all levels, in all the professions, right? What they're doing is saying to you, you don't need to be an engineer to drive a car. That's great. But the problem we have had over the years is that we can't make the cars. That's the problem. What can we make? Well, we could make education and sell it. We could make healthcare and sell it. We could make, and to make those things, you need discovery of new, even in what we normally call in tourism, service production generally. The most difficult area of innovation in any economy is service innovation. You're going to have to be able to come up with innovative service deliveries in order even to do the ordinary things we're calling tourism all around the region, right? But the tourism of tomorrow won't look anything like just come to Tobago to go to the beach. It's going to have to be, we're going to be forced as a region to be doing what St. Kitts Nevis and the Bahamas are doing, and that is to produce knowledge-intensive products for export. So when you head down that road, it's continuous innovation. The way you run your school system now, you teach the same thing every year. That's not going to happen.
You have to constantly be adapting.
Because you're not going to attract students from the rest of the world to come, and patients from the rest of the world to come, and all of that, if you're just copying what the rest of the world is doing already. So that now is what really forces you to think properly about the scientific production knowledge process that AI really is. You see? So when you are going online and using AI and so on, you're really using the results of scientific knowledge production by Gemini and Claude and
ChatGPT.
and so on, and you have to now get out of that a little bit and begin to put it to work to build science on top of whatever you used to use as data for common sense. Common sense and culture is the twin, But if you want to make an economy, you can't just rely on common sense and culture anymore. You've got to get into high science.
But Dr. James, with all this, how are we paying for this? Who is going to cover the cost for the infrastructure necessary, for the learning that is necessary to be taught, for the education of our teachers to teach the children this, the education of them to be able to pass on the knowledge? Tobago's budget can't handle something like that, even for our 60,000 people. Trinidad and Tobago wouldn't be able to handle it. Are we looking at the need for a more regional collaboration as a area, Latin America, CARICOM? Where do we start in terms of finding the funding for things like that?
For some things, the way you have to think about it is in the modeling we do, we have to work out the, let me call it the transformation financing method. Right? You have to change the nature of your government, you have to pay for that. It's not cheap, it's not free. You have to accelerate the speed of learning, you have to pay for that. That's not cheap, that's not free. That means there are some things you have to do locally and some things you have to collaborate with the world to do. With respect to the local things, we could work out how that fits into the local budget. And some of that may mean calculating the scale on which you have to contribute to a regional program, stuff like that. But on the local end, what you have to remember, when you look at the formula we've developed, you have to remember that there are some things that you have to displace or you have to raise taxes. The society you have to explain to the society that this is life and death. And so we have to put that extra 5% on the tax rate. So instead of 29 or 30%, we have to think of it as 35%. That will be disruptive. So you have to then use that properly to build out the capacity in the right industries. So we've worked through all of those so that we have proper guidance that we can offer the society and the governments in particular. But when you really look at the scale of the challenge, those national budgetary adjustments will still be a tiny component of what you need. You'll need the whole Caribbean to be doing the same thing. So you have to put CARICOM to work in a different way. It can't just be about getting from a small to a big market enlargement kind of program that it was built on. Now you have to know what each country has to contribute. That's something we never worked out even when we were doing the federation. You're just making something bigger. You don't know what each nation is to contribute. So that's why the whole thing broke up in the first place, and that's why CARICOM operates today as a kind of peer-to-peer networking mechanism. It's not the kind of thing that is driven by any strong central governance arrangement. That's okay if that's the way we want to work with one another. But the answer to the question, what each country has to do and what each country contributes to the pool, now becomes urgent if you're going to talk about adoption and development of these AI tools as drivers of science. And so we've got to think through the real role of a CARICOM in the modern development process. It's not anymore about bigger market. You still need that. But now you need to put CARICOM to work as a distributed learning network. And if it turns out it's too small for this infrastructure you have to put in, the energy devices you need, the cooling systems you need, talking to you as an engineer, you know you need all of these things. All of the software development processes you need. If you have to team up to do that and the Caribbean is too small, then you need to look afield. You need to look to Latin America and so on. Same distributed network. And of course, you can't close your eye to your neighbors to the north in Canada and the US and Mexico and so on. But you have to figure out the scale of the design you need so that you are able to have your own version of the Geminis and the ChatGPTs and the Claudes for your development purposes. That's the vision missing from the way the government is thinking now. It's our job as scholars to remind the society that much more is at stake than efficient government services, as important as that is. Or as tech-voc training, much more is at stake than that. And if you don't think about it now, the world will think about it for you and put you in trouble. So it's the CARICOM network we have to rethink now. you know, they did an exercise just the other day in the UN, to which I was invited, to think about what we've done with CARICOM. And when I listened to them, I told the UN staffers, you need to do a little bit more than this. We no longer must celebrate getting bigger and having the CSME in place and so on. We have to now rethink that market enlargement is not the story. It is now knowledge production, information sharing across the network, use of that information locally. And by the way, Aisha, we need to think about Tobago that way.
Well,
every community.
Well, I was now going to ask you the question. So we're not seeing much nationally as it relates to the topic, and we're not seeing much regionally as it relates to the topic. So the question would be, what can Tobago start to do little bit by little bit to prepare in the event that eventually something happens where we want to get on board? What can we
Tobago's most important role is to teach the country that what it is doing now is not adequate.
Oh,
and you can't do it with the kind of budgeting that I saw there.
Okay.
You have to understand what I'm talking about, and you have to sit down with the government in Trinidad and say, look, we have to do the whole country differently. Okay. In Tobago, and this was true before AI, this was true when we started talking about constitutional reform. You have to turn, in the modern day, you have to turn every village into a knowledge production component. Okay. Every village has unique things, all sorts of things. In Charleville, we have a type of sand, a kind of mosaic. Nowhere else in Tobago you have it.
That's what the Pink Beach?
What we call sand bay.
Oh, sand bay. Okay.
Sand bay is a sand that have pink, green, blue, red, all kinds of colors in the sand. You put it in these hourglass jars and you see it, right? That's where you come from.
Okay.
Now that, you have to begin to understand that scientifically. When I was a little boy studying geography, I used to wonder where it come from. Because the rest of the village beaches don't look like it.
Correct.
And it's nestled inside a big rock in a little cove, a little thing we call sand bay.
Yeah.
And all around it is reef, surrounded by reef, but when you look at the reefs, you can't see where the colors come from.
Where they come from, okay.
So you have to ask, well, what is this thing? Now, no longer will you be able to operate that way. You're going to have to do scientific work to understand it. So whatever you could, so you could turn it into a location for high science, for students to come and learn about what's going on. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
You talk about that, and my mind is already running to the fact that Tobago in itself has pretty color sand, dark sand, white sand, all over. So something as simple as different sand types throughout an island.
Your approach to geology, in other words, has to be much more scientific.
So now you are adding to the knowledge base, the knowledge process.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you know, we could do it while making money, because if you take a village like Charleville and it's sufficiently autonomous, you know, to look after profit-making activity and so on, it would turn Sand Bay into a real money spinner. Okay. On the basis that I'm talking about.
Understood.
It's not enough anymore to just guess and go see it, take up a cup and fill it and come back. Okay. It's going to be a whole different kind of thing. Every village, in other words, has to be a knowledge production center. You have to think about it that way. It's no longer a community development to go help them. Each village now has a role. The role is to produce knowledge based on your data in your local circumstances, all your experiences, all your culture, all the things you're talking about with heritage and so on. They all have to now dump into knowledge production data sets and so on. You go around lands for me, they are their own thing. You go all the way down to Castara, another set of stories down there, and so on. Come all the way around to Plymouth. The whole story down there is a whole different kind of story with its long history and all of that. All kinds of differences all around Tobago. You have Buko Reef, you have this. Every village can now become a genuine knowledge production center. And that you bring all of that together for Tobago's contribution
Yeah,
into
yeah.
a national process,
Yeah.
and so on, and then the whole country fits into a regional process. That's no different to what happens when you as an individual go on social media, practice whatever you practice, and Google records it and
Then,
uses that
yeah,
to
to
train
train.
their models.
Correct.
That's the same
Yes,
process I am
correct.
talking about.
Yeah.
Except that when you do it as an individual on social media, you're not trying to make money.
No.
But every village will be trying to make money
With the knowledge, that it has
process.
is putting in.
So we
Understood.
have ways to go if we think through.
Okay.
And just stop the process of going on in a routine.
Yeah.
And the only way to avoid that is to change the way we set up the government so everybody could be in a continuous conversation,
Data.
sharing knowledge and sharing data.
Yeah.
Nothing is more urgent than that. You have to set up the country, set up Tobago, set up the communities as knowledge producing centers,
Yeah.
learning centers. So the island and the nation is a distributed learning network.
And the
That's
knowledge
the
is
way
there,
forward.
it's just not pooled anywhere.
Well, what we try to do with heritage, every year we do the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But if you follow what I'm talking about, every year's heritage and every carnival will no longer be just you're importing a carnival from Trinidad. Because now you have the kind of local data to produce your own. Remember when maybe you're too young, but I remember when McWilliams and Bailey and them fellas were bringing out bands. Wonders of Africa, the great Zulus of South Africa. And so they brought stories with data built in.
Okay.
Now you're going to have to be going back to that process of using your data to concoct the stories you
to
are
bring out.
portraying in the street mass.
Understood.
So the carnival now becomes a platform on which you could produce video and documentary and film to make money all over the world.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, this AI process is going to colonize the hell out of you.
And take your data and make money off of it.
Exactly. Sell it back to you.
Sell it back to
And-
your
and
own
then-
data.
And then you're going to have a much more difficult time making a living, both as an individual and as a society.
Okay. So, Dr. James, the last topic we want to talk about is addressing the competition and how we as a nation, island, region can address the competition that is facing us.
Well, this is all about the scale. The world is a competitive place.
Always.
We should always have known that. But all of the studies in economics I have done was rooted on one observation I have made from a child. The world is a competitive place. Your sports competitive, your music. When I was a little
Education.
boy, cantata with the churches, they were competing with one another, which was the best. Each village have their own pride and so on. The whole education system. The greatest scholars of Tobago come from Charlottesville. That sort of stuff. That's what you're talking about.
Okay.
The world is a competitive place. You see it roll out in front of your eye with the World Cup.
Oh,
Brazil
yes.
gone.
Yeah.
This one gone.
USA gone.
USA gone. All of that is how the world is organized. You don't have a central unit controlling everybody, but competition coordinates the process.
Understood.
May the best win,
Yeah.
but the losers are not driven into poverty.
No.
Because you could bring something
But they learn.
by learning.
Yeah.
The learning is the driver.
Correct.
So you now look at how it's working in the current world. The key to the current thing that you have to understand is that there are some dominant forces today in the knowledge production process. It happened right before your eyes.
You saw it develop.
You saw it develop,
You still
and
have
you
a few
didn't
people
notice.
trying to jump in, but you have the main
You
ones.
have not noticed. The Chinese are coming with things like DeepSeek and them, but they're far behind.
They are.
They're far behind Google and Gemini.
Yeah.
They're far behind ChatGPT,
Yeah.
OpenAI. They're far behind Anthropic and Claude,
Yeah.
and so on. Anthropic brought out 2 new programs the other day. The American government tell them, you can't let the rest of the world see this.
Okay.
So it's not just the companies that are in the competition, the countries are in the competition.
competition as well.
And we have to face that as country, as Tobago, as
As
region,
region, yeah.
and so on. The scale of the competition would blow your mind if you think about
Yeah.
it.
That's
Remember,
already
each of
there.
those are $1 trillion of value. in each of these. Anthropic is just below $1 trillion.
Yeah.
Google and then past that.
Long time.
OpenAI just on the borderline. That's the capability you have to fight. To come up with your own variant
Or
of
do we
these
have to
kinds
fight?
of things.
Or we just have to be included?
You have to fight. Competition is a battle. It's just you're not fighting it with gun.
Yeah, okay.
It's a battle. It's a battle fought with knowledge, skills, creativity, innovation, and so on. And what happens is you win and you lose. When I make a nice calypso, I come and I sell it to you in New York, right? In Madison Square Garden, and make money. To consume my calypso, you can't be going and listening to jazz because it's sweeter. That's the whole idea.
Yes.
There is a little place for jazz, but my calypso get a big bite of the cherry.
Yeah.
That's the way the competitive process works.
Correct.
So we are getting our share of the pie by innovating. The real story is you have to get the whole point that you have to face the fact that what these three big engines are doing is every Monday morning they change the technology. Every Monday morning they update their programs, right? They're continuous learning as they coach their programs, test them, make sure they're reliable. And what Anthropic is doing is amazing because it's humanizing the process.
Correct.
Quite different to Google,
Yeah.
quite different to OpenAI.
Yeah, correct.
Anthropic has a strategy in which it is sensitizing its programs to judgment about sociology, about safety, about...
Yeah.
None of the others could match them yet.
Correct,
They're going to copy, but they're not there yet. My point to you is that's what we're talking about. That we have sociologies of social protection and all of those kinds of things, social care for one another, and so, all of which we can filter into our learning processes.
Understood. Okay.
Right? And we can't just live. The whole story is that we can't just live.
We have to add to it.
Else we will become a knowledge backwater, and if you become a knowledge backwater, you cannot develop.
But not only that, they will take what we have and make money.
That's how you become a knowledge backwater.
Okay.
That's what's happening to you now with social media.